Hi, my name is Darryl Egan. I'm your host of Side by Side in partnership with the Sydney Post and the Australasia Post. Today I have with me Klaus Zenkel, who's the Vice President of the European Union Chamber of Commerce and Chairman of the South China Chapter. Also I have Guido Giacconi, I should be better than that. I have Guido Giacconi, who's the Vice President of the European Union China Chamber of Commerce with me today. I have a few questions to ask them in regards to the clean energy drive from Europe and from China going into the future. So, hi guys, thank you for being with me.
Hi, thank you very much for inviting.
Well, thank you very much for having us.
Yeah, thank you, Klaus, thank you, Guido. Look, the first thing I want to talk about is that the European Union is set to have a zero emissions target for the future. And the main thing I'm looking to ask a few questions in regards to that and the work you do in China. Now, in regards to the leader of the European Union, Ursula von Leyen, who's made those statements, and I suppose you have to make those statements in regards to a clean energy Europe happening and maybe in cooperation with China. What are some of the shared goals between China and the European Union in regards to this working arrangement to go towards more clean energy in the future?
I mean, the targets of becoming carbon neutral are compatible in Europe and in China. Europe has pledged to become carbon neutral in 2050, and China has pledged to become carbon neutral in 2060. This is the only commonality between the two systems. For the rest, the two systems are completely different. And Europe is at least 30 years ahead of China because Europe started 30, 35 years ago to become, let's say, green, or at least to allow the different countries in Europe to follow their own pathway through an integration of the different energy systems and through a European emission trading schema that is common across Europe. This brought the different countries to have different stages in, let's say, achieving carbon neutrality. Some of them are very advanced, like the northern countries, Denmark, Sweden, or Norway. Some other are in a good shape, like Italy, Spain, Germany. Others have decided to go through other systems, like France with nuclear. But in any case, Europe, being a very open market, regulated by market forces, very well integrated, and very well regulated energy exchange between countries, is the most advanced system around the world. China is starting now, is learning, and the pathway towards green energy is very long. Today, the green energy represents barely less than 4% of the total energy system. So the Chinese energy system is totally different, has to be reformed. And of course, Europe can support and assist China, as we do hope for our members, to shape a new energy system, a new way of managing energy based on market forces for the sake of supporting the economy development that could not go further with this energy system.
Yeah, so you brought up some interesting points there. You were saying that Europe is ahead in, would you say Europe is more ahead in the structure and the experience of putting these clean energy systems in place and integrating them into a linked and structured way with all the different energy companies and other things like that? Would you say that's where Europe has had that experience?
Absolutely, yes. I mean, Europe, thanks to its open, transparent, regulated, and flexible energy system, is able to accommodate very close to 100% of renewable energies. And the European energy system has been designed for that. For allowing China to achieve the level Europe has achieved over the past 20 years, the Chinese energy system has to be deeply and radically reformed. Mm-hmm. Otherwise, the allocation of resources would not be effective nor efficient.
Right. I know that China's made some headway in some areas, like electric buses. They've produced a lot of electric buses. They've done some greening with planting trees across China. They've done a Mongolian taxonomy incentive for clean energy, and a lot of these incentives. But what I think you can see is that Europe can come in and show how to make those things happen on the ground and happen in an integrated way, so it's regulated in a streamlined fashion with different parts of China, and how to structure that so it can run effectively and efficiently. Would that be a right assessment?
Well, this is a big topic. I mean, we have run an analysis, and in China, electrical vehicles' carbon footprint is worse than natural gas vehicles. So the reason why the main driver for China for developing electrical vehicles, as well as also for developing hydrogen green, but is for achieving a leadership in the industrial sector, for then gaining market shares around the world. It's like it happened with the photovoltaic and the solar technology 20 years ago, when China solar power plant represented 0.02%, but China understood that what would have happened in Europe at that time. So they developed the industrial sector, or cells, solar cells, modules, technologies for gaining an industrial advantage in Europe. And in fact, when Europe started, mainly southern Italy, Spain, Germany, started to boost the renewable energy, China acquired immediately in a few years 80%, 90% of market shares. The same is happening on transportation. China has lost the battle of endothermic engines, and China will never gain market shares in traditional endothermic engines. But China bet that it could have done or could do on the electrical vehicles. Not for greening China, because any new electrical vehicles in China will worsen the emission situation, because 70% of electricity in China is produced by coal. And 70% of recharging electrical vehicle means 70% emissions coming from coal. But it is for gaining market shares in the industrial sector around the world. If China is going to be able to make, who knows? In some sector, like, as you mentioned, electrical bus, yes. I'm not sure for the other electrical vehicles. It's happening also in the hydrogen sector. The reason why China is investing a huge amount of money in hydrogen is not because the hydrogen model has been designed for China yet, but because China knows that hydrogen is going to drive the energy revolution in Europe and in advanced countries. So it's investing for its industrial.
So more of it's market driven, and I think also in the Belt and Road Initiative, they've also shown interest in the clean energy sector, tying it with the Belt and Road Initiative, and green industries are becoming stronger in the world, so they're getting onto that market share in that area. So I see that Europe can also have a role to play. The European Union have a role to play in how China can set up those systems to make them efficient, and also reach those goals of lessening the reliance on coal. So China can reach those targets, which I think they set quite a few years ago for them to get into clean energy areas. I mean, it's sometimes hard to get to transition from those old coal industries because you need to have a good structure and plan to do that. And I think Europe's had that experience of transitioning from coal into these clean energies sectors and how they did that process in a structured way. So from what I'm hearing, Guido, and maybe Claire, is that what you're saying is that the European Union can help with how they can structure that transition to make it work and reach those goals. Is that a right assessment?
Absolutely, yes. If you open another big chapter, is the Belt and Road Initiative, and you know China recently decided not to finance anymore any coal-fired power plant in Belt and Road countries, let's say. And it already happened with the ASEAN AIIB, ASEAN Infrastructure Investment Bank, that would not finance any, let's say, coal-fired plant or any non-clean energy project in different countries. So this aspect is very positive. So we, as the European Union Chamber of Commerce, since at least 3 years, are recommending the Chinese government to stop financing coal-fired power plant in the Belt and Road countries. But there is something different between Europe and China in, let's say, the Belt and Road countries. Europe already started investing with grants, let's say, the Belt and Road countries for green energy since at least 15 years. Not with loans, with grants.
Right.
China is doing through loans.
Right.
Making loans in the poor countries means to force the countries to enter a debt trap. So, if we can name the difference between Europe and China in the energy transition, is that Europe takes care of the planet, takes care of supporting the developing countries to become green, not for the sake of developing or gaining market shares, but for the sake of contributing to greening the planet. On the other side, the Chinese approach is a commercial approach. I will finance you for buying my technologies. In the past, they were coal-fired. In the future, will be green, but I will finance my market development.
Yes.
It's not for the sake of the planet greening, but it's for the sake of commercial reasons.
And that's an interesting topic because China's probably not been the only country to go into other countries and do loans for commercial reasons or for market share reasons. The World Bank has been doing that for quite some time. But you're saying from the European side, you're going in there with grants, and obviously grants that bring outcomes as well, because you don't just want to fund something with a grant, or you don't want to give a loan for something that doesn't have any outcomes and doesn't work. So could you say there could be a meeting in the middle in cooperation between China and the European Union of a part grant system and a part loan system to initiate these clean energy projects in those other countries?
Well, if I can say, I mean, the European experience is unique and is unprecedented. There is no other energy system in the world, nor US, and neither US nor Japan or others. So the learning curve of Europe is unique and is an asset, of course. So if China wants to operate in developing countries and making that in an efficient way, either from a financial standpoint, a technological standpoint, it should be done with Europe. What I do say, is that both Europe and China cannot achieve the carbon neutrality goals if they don't cooperate together in Europe, in China, and in the third countries. I mean, climate change and decarbonization is not a matter, doesn't have any border. It's something, and CO2 and greenhouse gases, they don't have passports. So if this unprecedented effort is not going to be carried out together in cooperation, nobody will be able to become carbon neutral.
And you brought up those sticking points of different approaches where Europe will go in more with the grant system, China will go in with a loan system. But I suppose that's where the discussions are going to happen is how do we can possibly compromise on the two systems or have those two systems run together to get those projects going. And I think that would be the main sticking point. Klaus, I just want to ask Klaus a question. From your standpoint, Klaus, being in southern China in Shenzhen, which is a high technology area, what's the reaction and what are some of the companies there that you think might be able to assist in clean energy projects in other countries? And how would you see Shenzhen fit into all of this as well?
The South China with Shenzhen is one of the most innovative area in China. It's also very business friendly, and traditionally it has, let's say, the factory of the world was in the Pearl River Delta. It had its home, and now it is converted to the Greater Bay Area, which is including Macau and Hong Kong and 7 other cities in the Guangdong province. So this area has been promoted and for, let's say, high-tech manufacturing and, of course, also green energy and, let's say, go to renewable energies. And, for example, Shenzhen, of course, they always have the leader and pilot projects to do. All of the public buses are electric driven, have electric vehicles. So, but as Gude already mentioned, where does the electric energy come from? So this is still not, let's say, it helps the environment in the city. The pollution is less, CO2, but the energy label, the green energy label is very low for this. So the European Chamber has 170 members in South China, and some of them are talking about these or have knowledge about these technologies, the green energy, how to convert the fossil energy to renewable energies, and I think here the European companies and China companies can work together to achieve the targets in the carbon neutralities. And we had the power shortage, which was actually caused by too fast changing to renewable energies. Right. And it was actually first you close coal mines and don't purchase enough coal anymore because you have a target to reduce the emission. But this was kind of backfiring because now the capacity is not enough, and now the oil price went up because it's short. I mean, the coal price went up, it's short. So to restart a mine again will cost also a lot of money. So potential is there, opportunities are there. The Greater Bay Area has just opened another free trade zone in Hengqin near Zhuhai, which is a huge area which provides a lot of subsidies and benefits also for local and foreign investment. And in Shenzhen itself, the Qianhai free trade zone was expanded by 8 times. And this also is now in the planning, and the European Chamber is working together with the government to find out the potentials and the opportunities which could the European and domestic companies get in this environment. And I believe that the technologies developed in Europe, or which will still be developed for green energy usage and green manufacturing, the whole range will give the European companies the edge.
And interesting with that work, so you have a working group, a clean energy working group under the Chamber, is that correct?
As a matter of fact, we have 3 working groups on this matter. We have the energy working group, we have the environmental protection working group, and we have the carbon market working group.
Right. And those working groups, are they looking at ways of cooperation between China and the European Union on some of the things you were about earlier, Guido? Would that be correct?
Yes, mainly the energy working group and the carbon market working group advise the European Commission about the Europe-China energy dialogue. And the Chamber has been very active, and these working groups have been very active in advising European Commission to set up this energy dialogue and how to make it alive and how to structure it. What is the requirement from China, but also what are the interests of the European companies through this dialogue, because Europe is investing money on this, and of course this money goes for supporting China in doing that, but also have gone and should go for supporting the development of the European companies in China for deploying their solutions and their technologies.
Yeah, and consultation, how to set up those structures up right for that. So there's a lot of opportunities for the European Union there with the Belt and Road Initiative on how to do that, and how you have a mixture or some type of cooperation on a loans and a grant system that bring real outcomes, not just throwing money at it, but having good structures in place so you do get outcomes and you do get clean energy working in the right direction. Our Australian government has come out and said they want to reach a sort of net zero target, but they've come very late to the table on this. What would you say to the Australian government? Is it just an easy road to make an announcement and say, we want to make a clean energy target? Would you have to say that there's a lot more work than that involved than just making an announcement? Would you say?
Yeah, sure. I mean, if you say something, of course, it makes sure that you have to do something. So, I mean, you have to have a plan, you have to have a structure, and I mean, Europe is working on this since 20, 30 years, maybe even longer. I remember when Europe started to separate the waste. That is long ago. And in China, they're just starting now. And I don't know how it's done in Australia, but this is really a long-term goal. You have to make a proper plan. And of course, now it is very in to say, yeah, I am on the train. I'm carbon neutral very soon. So make your plan. Australia may have a little bit more easier because of the land area, and so it's probably more easy than, and it's also not the heaviest polluter in the world. But I think learn from, maybe have a look at Europe. Why not? Have a look at Europe and learn from what they did in the past 20, 30 years, and then go in the same direction as Europe. And after all all the countries globally need to work together. Cannot be one isolated country to achieve any carbon neutrality without the others' contribution.
That is so true. Australia could, engage with the European Union and what you're doing and be an observer on what's happening and learn from that. I think it'll be a good thing. And as you said, as a planet, we cooperate towards one of the biggest threats facing us, and that's climate change. And Guido, do you see your work as a working group in the near future more geared towards bringing the European Union and China together on a common strategy for the Belt and Road Initiative with those projects and for what's happening in China with clean energy?
Yes, absolutely yes. What we are advocating towards the Chinese government and the European institutions is that the carbon neutrality common pledges, European and Chinese, should be the platform for accommodating all the other geopolitical tensions. Having the certainty that Europe and China alone cannot become carbon neutral. It's a matter of, as I said before, greenhouse gases, they don't have passport.
No.
If you produce a greenhouse gas in China, you see the effect in Europe and vice versa. So this is an unprecedented threat for the planet and for the humankind. If we overcome 1.5 degrees over the next years, and if we will overcome the 2 degrees temperature increase, then the overall social and economic system will be totally disrupted. And what is going to happen, nobody knows. We already see the consequences of climate change. For example, in 2021, this year, the wind that powered the wind farms, both in Europe and in China, has been lower than in the previous years because of climate change. So the overall productivity of wind farms have been from 10 to 15% lower. That has been one of the causes in UK of the energy crisis in UK. The wind farms, the offshore wind farms in the Northern Sea produce less energy. The same in China. The albedo effect, so the thicker clouds on the sky, reduce the productivity of photovoltaic plants. So we already see it. And the floodings in Europe and in China has forced to shut down some power plants. In the future, what is going to happen, nobody knows. What we know now is that the international global cooperation is a must. I do really hope that COP26 in Glasgow next weeks will address this point. And we are doing our best for convincing both leaderships, and honestly, we are being consulted by Chinese government and European Commission and the European Council on this aspect. I would add something on another aspect between Europe and China, and is the comprehensive agreement on investment that Europe frozen in terms of ratification for political reasons. We are advocating both Europe and China, in any case, to start implementing that, because there is some aspect, mainly in the sustainable development, that is mandatory to be carried out, independently of the political ratification of the European Parliament. Yeah. Without that, Europe and China probably would not start cooperating on many technological aspects and trading aspects for the sake of mutual achievement of carbon neutrality.
We should be triaging what's happening and saying, okay, let's work on climate change together, but our differences on a political level, let's kick those down the road and we can discuss those more later. The immediate threat is, as you say, is climate change. On a personal level, I love to thank both of you for your work. My son is 10 years old and he has to grow up in this future planet. And his future is what I'm invested in as a parent, and you've got children yourself, and they may have children, or that's the next generation. That's what we're doing this for, and we should never lose sight of that. So I really, really hope that the European Union Chamber in China can negotiate between the two parties and bring something positive to the Belt and Road Initiative with clean energy, and within China, a system that is effective and has outcomes. Look, I'd like to thank you both for the interview. It was very enlightening, and I think Australia can learn a lot from what is going on with your work.
Thank you very much, Darren.
No, thank you, and thank you, Klaus, and thank you, Guido.
Thank you very much, Daryl.
Thank you.
I have 2 grandsons, and they are now 7 and 9 years old, and they deserve a good future. We are working for this.
Yeah.
Thank you very much for having us here.
No problem. And if I'm ever back in China, I would really love to come over and see what you do in an upfront way. That would be great. My wife has got relatives in South China, so we really want to get back and see my extended family and see the work that you're doing. I'd like to see the work you're doing over there.
Yes.
Looking forward.
Yeah, please, whenever it is possible without quarantine, take the flight and visit us here.
Thank you. Auf Wiedersehen.
Thank you, Darren.
Auf Wiedersehen.
Auf Wiedersehen and
Arrivederci.
Arrivederci.
Arrivederci.